This is a horrifying moment in our nation's history. Today, United States Senator Alex Padilla was violently removed from a public briefing for asking questions on behalf of the people he represents. People in California who deserve answers about the brutal crackdown on protesters. I've watched the video, as many of you have as well. Let me just describe what it shows. Officers pushed Senator Padilla backwards out of the room as he said the words, "I am Senator Padilla. I have questions for the secretary." He was then shoved to the ground. When the senator complied with the officers and went on his knees, he was forcibly pinned onto his stomach. He was ordered to put his hands behind his back. He can be heard on the video saying he is trying to comply with their orders. Officers then put handcuffs on the senator while he was lying on the ground. His staff was then told to stop recording the handcuffing.
Senator Elizabeth Warren just delivered one of the most intense floor speeches I've ever seen, calling what happened to Senator Padilla a horrifying moment in our nation's history and directly accusing Trump of making America look like a fascist state. She's demanding Republicans speak up right now, and her detailed description of what's on that video is absolutely stunning.
He was put in handcuffs for asking a simple question. He was put in handcuffs for doing his job as a United States Senator. He was put in handcuffs for standing up for the Constitution of the United States. He was put in handcuffs for representing the people of California. Now, if you're not yet convinced that President Trump and his administration are trying to suppress free speech, then just watch the video. Watch the video. If you are not yet convinced that President Trump and his administration are trying to undermine the foundations of our democracy, watch the video. If you are not yet convinced that President Trump and his administration are hell-bent on punishing people with differing opinions than those of the president, then watch the video. And here's the really chilling part. Make no mistake. What happened to Senator Padilla today is happening every day all across this country. Every day, DHS agents are throwing people to the ground and violently handcuffing them while they are not resisting, detaining them for exercising their First Amendment rights of free speech. Every day, Donald Trump is making this nation look more and more like a fascist state. If this is how federal agents treat a United States senator who peacefully asks questions of this administration, then we all have to ask, how far will they go? How violent will they get? I know my Republican colleagues can see what happened today was wrong. But will any Republican senator speak up for our democracy? They know Senator Padilla's character. They know that Senator Padilla is a kind man, a man who is concerned for his children, a man who is concerned for his home, a man who has dedicated his life to public service, a man who is a patriot. Where are our Republican colleagues? Where is the Republican Senate? Where are you? Stand up and speak out. This is a continuation of what we've been seeing. Intimidate every other check on presidential power in this country. Fire the civil service. Get rid of those people. Threaten to imprison judges. Criminally charge House members who try to visit an ICE facility. Arrest senators who ask questions. This is not a drill. This is an assault on our democracy. I am calling on my Republican colleagues to join us in demanding a bipartisan investigation into this incident. What happened at this press conference was disgraceful, it was un-American, and every member of the United States Senate should condemn it and condemn it now. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Here's where Warren makes her strongest constitutional case, and frankly, the most chilling argument I've heard on the Senate floor in years. She argues that what happened to Padilla is happening every day all across this country, that DHS agents are regularly throwing people to the ground and handcuffing them for exercising First Amendment rights. This is a critical escalation because she's not treating this as an isolated incident or even just an attack on Congress. She's positioning it as systematic suppression of constitutional rights across the entire country. Think about the implications of what Warren is saying here. If she's correct, then we're not just talking about one bad day or overzealous security at a briefing. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how the federal government treats dissent. She's arguing that the executive branch has essentially declared war on the First Amendment, and that Padilla's treatment is just the most visible example because he happens to be a senator. This is where Warren's legal background really shows. She understands that in constitutional law, patterns matter more than individual incidents. One senator getting roughed up could be explained away as a misunderstanding or security overreaction. But if you can establish a pattern of systematic suppression, if you can show that this is happening every day all across this country, then you're talking about something much more serious. You're talking about what constitutional scholars call democratic erosion. Warren is essentially making the argument that we're witnessing the weaponization of federal law enforcement against political opposition. And here's why that matters so much. In every democracy that has collapsed in modern history, one of the early warning signs is when the government starts using law enforcement to silence critics. It starts with the excuse of maintaining order or national security, but it quickly becomes about eliminating political opposition. What makes this particularly chilling is Warren's point about the recording being stopped. If federal agents are confident they're acting appropriately, why stop the recording? That suggests consciousness of wrongdoing and awareness that what they're doing might not look good under scrutiny. That's not the behavior of law enforcement maintaining order. That's the behavior of people who know they're crossing lines but are doing it anyway. Warren's most explosive moment comes when she directly states that Donald Trump is making this nation look more and more like a fascist state. That's not language senators typically use about sitting presidents, regardless of party. She's making a fundamental argument about the nature of American democracy under the current administration, and her challenge to Republicans is unprecedented. Where are our Republican colleagues? Where is the Republican Senate? Where are you? Stand up and speak out. The question now is whether any Republicans will respond to her direct challenge. Warren is essentially testing whether institutional loyalty can overcome partisan loyalty in the current political environment, and that test will define how our democracy functions going forward. This story is developing rapidly, and I'll be watching closely to see if any Republicans respond to Warren's direct challenge. If this analysis helped you understand the constitutional stakes involved, hit that like button and subscribe with notifications on. These are the moments that define how our democracy works, and we need to stay informed about what's really happening.